Kansas State's baseball team rolled against Houston this weekend. They looked great. Can they continue that in the midweek matchup versus the Baylor Bears? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into this Locked On Kansas State episode. Will be a Locked On College crossover episode with Locked On Baylor Bears in just a moment. But thank you so much for making Locked On Kansas State your first or second listen of the day, whether you're listening in as a bonus episode today. I thank you so much. And thanks for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Really appreciate you stopping by. Have a fun episode for you today where we dive in with Cam Stuart of Locked On Baylor as we are going to talk the midweek baseball game between Kansas State and Baylor. And then afterwards, we talk a little bit between the Baylor ties when it comes to the Jerome Tang era that has officially ended in Kansas State with the addition of Casey Alexander being added as new head coach. And then, of course, what the future may hold for that rivalry. We'll do that next right here on this Locked On College crossover. Let's get on over to it right now. All right, let's end this show with a little Locked On College crossover. Locked On Baylor, Locked On Kansas State. I'm Christian Rauh, Cam Stuart here as well. And the reason we're doing that is because there's a midweek matchup between, the words are hard. It's only the middle of the week.
There's definitely someone on Baylor's baseball roster that played at Midway High School. So,
well, look at that. I was doing background research. That's what it was. The reason we're talking is because we get to play a baseball game on Tuesday night. Kansas State comes off a great way to start off their Big 12 play. They take down Houston 2-1. On the flip side, Baylor loses theirs against West Virginia 2-1. They get shut out, they get blanked on Sunday night. There's been some moments, though, just somebody from Kansas State looking out to Baylor, beginning of the season, a whole bunch of grand slams by Baylor. What's your initial take of this team? We're not getting a full series. We're just getting one matchup in Waco before Kansas State heads back home. What's your take of this baseball squad so far this year?
Christian, it's good. It's good. They're not bad. That's for sure. They are one of the baseball teams in the Big 12. Okay. This was I was really hyped up for this past weekend because I was like, this is such a good shot here. 3 game set to open Big 12 at home against probably the best team in the Big 12 in West Virginia. We haven't had a lot of teams go in the top 25 this year. West Virginia being the highest ranked one as of now. A good pitching staff for the Mountaineers. And you take game one. A good performance by Calder. A nice Friday night win, 1-run win. And then you score 2 in the next 2 games combined. It's the inconsistency. And look, there's a lot of baseball left to be played this year. I'm not really write them off. But it's the same problem we saw last year when Baylor started turning the corner in a good way. They couldn't string wins together. They couldn't take big series like they had the opportunity to do against West Virginia. Didn't get it done, man. So again, a lot of baseball. This is another team that is in some of the rankings and has been in the rankings. In Kansas State, another golden opportunity at home, 2 midweek starters, let's get some runs and defend your home turf here. So it's been good. It just hasn't been great. And we're waiting for this team to be an NCAA tournament team in year 4 under Mitch Thompson. So the expectations do get raised a little bit, Christian. What about the Cats?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to talk about ranked, 24th ranked team in the country. Finally, about time.
I think that's rankings in baseball.
It's so many. It depends where you look. But the official
I'm okay taking the highest one. I'm okay doing that.
In this time of the year, I think so as well. Yeah. Because there's just so many different rankings. I've seen 24, then I've seen them left out, and then I've seen other receiving votes, and then whatever. But if you go to Baylor Bears schedule, if you go to Kansas State's schedule on the official website, it says number 24 Kansas State. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it for sure. Look, when you're talking about Baylor, they had a rough weekend. If you don't take the opener out because you were 21-2 losing the last 2 games. This is a nice warm-up test for your first true Big 12 road trip on the weekend against Oklahoma State, which they're struggling as well. There's a lot of criticism about Oklahoma State this year as well. But Kansas State, this is a fun midweek. They're really fun to watch. Their offense was absolutely humming against Houston in the first 2 games, but then was kind of absent on Sunday I don't know if it was the fact that it was a getaway kind of feel, but they weren't leaving. They were still sitting there waiting to go to Waco, or it was just that ran out of gas. But either way, the team looked really good. They've got some really fun hitters on this team. D. Kennedy is one that obviously snaps up right away, coming in from last year, coming over from Texas. This is the second year in the program. Shintaro Inoue, the Japanese player, he's named the Big 12 Player of the Week because he was absolutely incredible in the weekend performance. He's got a 524 average, going 11 for 27 while finishing second on team with 10 RBIs. And he's got a 1.314 OPS for all those nerds out there. Incredible. Absolutely incredible OPS, to watch. Yeah, it's good. It's good numbers, right? Yeah. I'm interested to see if this team can continue it because this is one of the best starts under Pete Hughes. And it's not that Pete Hughes has struggled being the head coach at Kansas State. He's got them to the regionals 2 years in a row, going to bank on getting it to year 3. And hopefully the expectation, I think, needs to rise just a little bit more, whether it's the case of, okay, are you going to be finally hosting? Can you go through super regionals? Can you get to Omaha? I think this team has that opportunity to raise those expectations this year. I think you saw a lot of it in the Houston game last weekend. I think you saw it in some of the marquee Power 4 games you played earlier in the season against Iowa, against Penn State, against UConn, against some of those teams earlier in the year in the Desert Invitational. Now, you did struggle in a couple midweeks afterwards, but who doesn't at some point in time during the season? That's what kind of college baseball is all about, the chaos.
Yeah.
But I do feel like
Sundays and Tuesdays, man, chaotic.
Yeah. Midweeks are wild, and that's why I think this is one of those interesting games. You play one game against Baylor, who's trying to find their own after being, decimated on Saturday and Sunday. Let's be honest.
Yeah. This is and trying to split at home.
True prove it game for Baylor. Doesn't it feel that way?
It does. And like you just said, like Tuesdays can get nuts. Like, last week, I think they threw six pitchers on the mound in their last midweek game. Like, that's what you get. You don't even really have a set starter this year in the midweek games. So it's two teams who have good middles of the order.
Mm-hmm.
Middle of the orders. One of
Take
those
it where you got it. Yeah, go for it.
The right one. Yeah. Two teams that could mash in the middle of the order. And so I expect some runs in this game. I do. These are two teams that are, like I just said, have good, potent middle of the lineup bats. And Baylor, like I said, trying to split, basically, let's call it a 4-game series, Big 12 home games. They didn't love the way that it kind of spiraled out of control on Sunday. Mitch Thompson getting ejected from that game, arguing what was objectively a horrible check swing call. But look, baseball, Sunday, some bad calls, around the sport. So these kinds of games fascinate me. Obviously, this is pretty new with the one midweek game in a Big 12 play. That was only when the new guys came in, right? We needed to kind of shoehorn some more opponents in there. So it's two teams that sound pretty similar. The way that you were describing Kansas State and the expectations, I'd say the expectations are pretty similar around here. Like two coaches who have had success, who are not in their first year. Hughes obviously a little bit longer, 3 years longer, in fact, than Mitch Thompson. But these guys who've been here, you've got your guys in here. The whole scholarship thing, the new amount of scholarships last year definitely does help non-traditional college baseball powers, especially a small private school like Baylor. But now we're getting way meta. We're just talking about a game on a Tuesday night in March. I don't need to be talking about scholarships. But I find these fascinating, these midweek conference games. And
ties and expectations between Baylor and Kansas State always seem to be somewhere, right? And there almost was a perfect segue to our next segment, almost. But I still have something to say on this one because I think we forgot the most important thing of this segment today. Did you see the promotion? 90s night and $2 Tuesday? 90s night? I went to the website and I saw this. This is one of the bullet points. I love this, by the way. It says, we don't want, quote, no scrubs and just, quote, wannabe at Baylor Ballpark for 90s night. This is, quote, the sign to buy your tickets today and be a, quote, all-star. What a perfect, if you're
what a wordsmith.
I love it.
What a wordsmith.
They tried a little too hard to find them in there, but I love a 90s jersey inspired green tea for a giveaway.
Yeah, a little
jealous. I'm
Shurzy
not in
action.
Waco on a Tuesday night.
A
Look
little
at that.
Shurzy action. And I could say, because I know almost certainly who wrote the press release, that person I believe will have some influence over the music on Tuesday night at the ballpark. As you can probably tell, this person hated that I wrote in the Baylor Lariat as a senior that the greatest song ever written is Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve. So I don't know if that will come up on the playlist. Didn't come up on the press release.
If Baylor's leading by less than 3 in the bottom of the ninth, does Semisonic closing time come on? That's not Semisonic, is it?
Yeah, Semisonic. Yeah,
it
you
is.
got it. Yeah. I would have to think so.
It's the perfect closer song for a college 90s night, right?
Yeah, it would be even better if it was like a 2-run lead, 2 guys get on base, and so you're like, you got to bring them in middle of the inning. That's a good closing time.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But stick around, because on the next segment, I think we need to talk a little bit more basketball here, because the Baylor ties with Kansas State are officially gone. What's that mean next? We'll talk next right here in this Locked On College Crossover. But first, the biggest stretch of college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Well, being live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. And the hard part is always actually getting tickets. Long queues, prices jumping around, and surprise fees at checkout. You don't need to worry about that anymore, because the Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. And what is better than that? The seat view is my favorite. It's an absolute game changer. You get a panoramic view from your seat, your exact seat, before you buy. I mean, what better way to be figuring out how you're going to enjoy the game before spending an actual penny? And the zone deals let you pick the section and save even more with the Game Time selects the exact seat. You can do that as well. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, that's Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. This episode of Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Baylor is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's the 5 Hour Energy flavored draft with over 15 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. Here's the flavors, and I've got my number one pick in the 5 Hour Energy flavored draft, and I'm going with 1-1. To me, it's good old reliable. I don't go for the rookies. I go for the veteran, and I'm picking grape. That Concord grape flavor, similar to that grape juice or candy, that classic purple candy style finish. Grape is truly my number one pick. And 5 Hour Energy shots give you boosts with zero sugar, and they have a lot of upcoming flavors and flavor innovations planned. So find your new favorite of 5 Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Hey, welcome back to this Locked On College Crossover. Locked On Baylor Bears, Locked On Kansas State. Cam Stuart, Christian Rauh here, and that was fun. We get to talk a little baseball. We don't get to talk enough baseball over the years because of football and basketball.
Or 90s music.
That's just the overrated. You know, I get picked on a lot for my love for Hootie and the Blowfish. So I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But
such a baby, the Wildcats make me cry.
That's right. God, I love that. I love that.
But Christian's a big enough fan that he's like, what a deep cut he just used, huh?
That's
really
good. Yeah.
I mean, the 90s music thing would be great for you more so than me, not to bring this up, but you probably remember more of the 90s than I do.
I do. Yeah.
I'm a big 90s music aficionado, though.
That's fair.
To be fair to myself.
I grew up on the 90s. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, this is there's grays in my hair. That's why I cut it. That's why the beard is a little shorter now. There's grays. They pop up.
Hey, everyone knows why I wear the hat every day. So
fair enough. Yeah, the shine.
Knows, yeah,
there we go. Looking at the future of Kansas State, it's just changed hands, right? Jerome Tang no longer the head coach of Kansas State. Casey Alexander takes the helm as well. Biggest thing I want to bring up to you is, well, look, we've talked to Jerome Tang over the last couple of years for sure. And I know you've brought it up. I've even seen the crazy idea of you saying he should be the next women's basketball coach.
Hey,
right?
I didn't say it.
One of your guests.
Yeah,
One of your guests.
Scotty Swingler, man. I'm surprised you didn't run with that. I'm surprised we didn't see a breaking rumors.
Should have did an aggregate. You're right. I should have made sure something of that happened for sure. But that tie is now over. And that's something that we've kind of talked about for the last couple of years, that the Baylor and Kansas State has this ties, at least on the basketball side, that is now gone away. Now it has shifted to the football side. Joe Klanderman being the defensive coordinator at Kansas State, now the defensive coordinator at Baylor. There's always something for us to talk about, it feels.
We've got to have it, man. It's always going to be there. And if nothing else, if Joe Klanderman is gone at this point next year and we feel like we're truly out of options, we could just talk about Colin Klein's record in Waco and it'll all just come flooding back. We'll have those ties again. Or Pete Hughes, a Massachusetts guy, South Shore guy, right from 2 towns over from where I grew up, same hometown as AJ DeBonsa, but done with that. Yeah, it kind of stinks, man. We ran out of ties and we ran out of them pretty quickly. Like obviously Driscoll took over for the rest of the season, so we did have that. But I think Jerome Tang's firing and Mark Vital's arrest happened like the same week or within a week of each other. So we really kind of lit the basketball connection on fire there pretty quickly. Kind of bummed, but yeah, we'll get it back when Jerome Tang coaches the Baylor women's team. We will have it back. Do you feel like he's gonna come back to Baylor at all? Like let's put that out. I don't think he's gonna be the women's coach. I'll say it. No. I don't think he's gonna be the women's coach.
Bold take there.
But I do still think there's a good chance he becomes Scott Drew's associate head coach again. I wouldn't say like a 90-10 or anything like that. I might not even call it a 50-50. But if you had to say to me like, hey, are you taking the field or him being Scott Drew's assistant, which is leaving out just like taking a year off, which is obviously still very much an option. I'm probably picking the Baylor job first. But I think more likely, I think he does sit for a year.
I think so too. I think especially since we haven't heard much about the legality issues happening over the last couple of weeks, that's kind of gone radio silent. Makes you think maybe that's a good thing for Kansas State, or they're just trying to build something up. I'm not sure. Yeah, and I just had this thought, like just had it. It's like he's got connections with the people he worked with at Baylor. Right. Like the Scott Drew coaching tree is arguably, honestly, one of the top 2 or 3 coaching trees active right now. Matthew Driscoll made sure everybody knew how much he loved Coach Tang on his way out. Yeah, they stick together, man. Oh, yeah. But then I think like, okay, so let's say you're going to go work for one of those guys, one of the Scott Drew disciples. It's probably not going to be Grant McCasland. He's had an associate head coach in place. That's pretty good. And outside of that, like the jobs just aren't as attractive as being an assistant at Baylor. You know what I mean? Like, love John Jacobs, like you could be his assistant at FAU, but then why wouldn't you be an assistant at Baylor? Assuming that that's a standing invitation with how much turnover Scott Drew has had in his coaching staff the last couple of years. That's something I have not talked about recently, but as much as they replace a lot of players, Christian, they have replaced a ton of assistant coaches since the year after they won the title, which is when Tang left to go to Kansas State. So they have had a ton of turnover there. I would think that Scott would love to have some, sustainability on the coaching staff if you can't exactly get it on the roster, So I still think it's a possibility. I do. No, I agree. I think it's possible for sure. You spoke about. Do you think he's going to be a head coach? I don't. No, I like the year off idea. I really do, and I think if he does come back, it's going to be at the assistant reins. At a Power 5 level. If maybe he goes mid-major, I don't know. But this is why I think mid-major is not going to be in his favorite. And this is a perfect segue. Look at you doing this naturally. Speaking of the NCAA tournament coming up, Baylor and Kansas State obviously not in it, but this is wild. I saw this on social media. Yeah. Breaking news, in case you're just listening to this in minute 16 or whatever the case you are, whatever show you're listening to of this podcast. Towards the end. Yeah. Towards the end. For the first time ever, every top 4 seed is a double-digit favorite to open the NCAA tournament. The NCAA, when it comes to the NIL, the portal era, it's unreal. The reason why I say I don't think Jerome Tang is going to follow the mid-major route is because the last couple of years, he has had to bank on getting Kansas State money to build a roster. Now, that roster did not work out, but I think there's some questions on talent and evaluation. Now, I know you can argue the opposite because he did a very good job what he did recruiting-wise in Baylor. It just didn't work out in Kansas State. I think that's why he takes that assistant round, goes back that way if he does return to coaching. But I guess my biggest thought here, to round this one out, we can kind of give a little bit of NCAA tournament predictions to finish this show out here. Every top 4 seed's a double-digit favorite. Does that hurt Baylor and Kansas State? Now, Kansas State spent a lot of money. Baylor completely shifted their entire roster this year, flipped it from the ground up. Are you worried about this new era for Baylor, for Kansas State, for most of the Big 12 schools trying to compete with the very top of these, should I say, blue bloods?
Yeah, I am. And it's honestly, it's not even so much about the money. I'm concerned about how Scott Drew is successful and how I think Jerome Tang would be successful is just not, it's not complementary to the transfer portal and the era that we're in right now. And Baylor has had their problems spending money. Not that they haven't had any of it, but spending too much on one guy or two guys and not getting the production that they thought out of those players, or not, getting it soon enough. Obviously, with some one and dones in there, how quickly are they going to adjust to the college game? You have no idea, right? So I'm more worried about that, just keeping some continuity on your roster. That is a major ask right now, Christian. You got to have money and you've got to be good. It's like a chicken and the egg thing, like how is it? Are you going to continue to not have continuity on your roster if you lose more than you win because you don't have continuity on your roster? So that's where I find it to be tough. And yeah, obviously it is an uphill battle for some of those smaller schools. And I think what's kind of a misconception around the Big 12 for people that follow other conferences is like Kansas State is not a small school, but it's not a huge school. It's not Tennessee or Florida or Ohio State in terms of when we're talking about resources, right? Like Kansas State, Iowa State, they're in that field. Kansas obviously a different animal. Sorry. But like those other schools, Oklahoma State, even like they're small end of public schools that are in the Power Four. So it's problems for those guys too. But then again, man, if you find the right coach, Jamie Dixon just wakes up and makes the tournament at TCU.
True.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's tough to do. So I guess at the end of the day, if you have the right guy for the right era, then you're fine.
If you want to join the Everydayers Club, be a part of the bracket challenge that's coming out on Locked On Podcast Network. Use promo code MARCH. You can get a month free. But while you're at it, you can fill out your bracket and get a chance to win $100 in Locked On merch. Pretty crazy stuff happening over there. Cool. Who's your go-to for the NCAA winner? Why is it Hofstra? Why are you picking Hofstra to win?
I really like Johnny Dawkins. I like UCF. what he's cooking over there. Oh man, dude. I'll tell you what my go-to's been my whole life, and it might be this year, is Duke. But
you hear something funny about Duke? This is I'm leaning towards Duke as well. I saw this on social media. Every year since like 2008, the year, I think it was even earlier than that. I think like 1999 actually is what I saw. Every team that eliminated Mount St. Mary's the year after they win the NCAA tournament, they eliminated Mount St. Mary's last year. It's so if you believe in historical trends. Right? Oh,
yeah.
Continuity, you said.
They're that good defensively, man.
They are good.
They're that good defensively. Yes, I did see that Mount St. Mary's thing. That's pretty cool. Mount St. Mary's crowns the next year's champion. But Arizona, man, to keep it Big 12, but also keeping it real, because, us part-timers aren't really pumping up Arizona too much right now. But I think they're the most talented team in the country, and they have put it together pretty dang well for the entire season. So I know it's not fun to have chalk 1-1 in the final all the time, but man, I'd love a Duke Arizona 2001 title game rematch.
I'm close there, but I'm going to go with another rematch, not of the 1 seeds, but of the Big 12 championship. I think we're going to get a Big 12 championship rematch, but with a different result. I think Samson gets his national champion this year. I think Houston wins.
Would that be someone you'd root for?
I'm rooting for Houston. And honestly, I don't know if it's the fact that Kansas State, the fact that we were fed a dream over the last 3 years to say we're going to have the Houston model, and it just never happened. But I love the way they play basketball. I think they play aggressive, and I obviously root for them when they're not playing Kansas State, and obviously in the tournament I do lean towards rooting for the Big 12 teams. I think that's just kind of part of just being part of this network and part of being on the Big 12 squad, right? I think Houston can do it, man. I think they have the team, but they got to get through Duke. But I like their route. I mean, St. Mary's is not an easy
I like their route better than Duke's, by the way.
Yeah.
I do like their route better than Duke's.
I think Arizona has the easiest route to get there. I do think that's true. I think they got
I would agree. Route. Arkansas could give them a headache. I don't love their number 2 seed in terms of like trust in them. They Purdue, while they obviously made the title game a couple years ago. They've had some big time. They've been upset big time a couple of times. I don't know anything about Gonzaga this year. They're typically pretty good. Mark Few likes to win in March until you get to the final game, which is April. So
there's
a
possibility of Mick Cronin in Philadelphia against UConn too. Did you see that?
Yeah.
College basketball's fun.
Kelvin Sampson's a better coach than Kevin Ollie. So he should probably have a national championship.
That's true. 100%. Let's get on out of here. We can definitely talk NCAA tournament all day long. No doubt about that. If you want to join the bracket challenge, though, check out the show notes below. Join the Everydayers Club. You can do it for free. Use promo code March. Let's get on out of here right here. Thank you for listening. Please like, please subscribe. This has been a Locked On College crossover of Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Cam Stewart's Baylor Bears.
Whoop.